Rethinking the sense of responsibility around the management of heritage. The longer history of the cleaning shed, expanding the notion of now. The project provides an alternative to the redevelopment approach taken in Nine Elms, exploring how taking responsibility for a longer now can inform design decisions. The speculative design proposal illustrates a way in which our theoretical approach and manifesto would play out through time. The project is situated in Battersea and Nine Elms area, building upon previous research that engages with the concept of time, physical boundaries, and leftover spaces. The research findings shed light on the scope of development and demolition the area has undergone. By constantly overwriting its past, the present state of the built environment is one that lacks local specificity. There are, however, some fragments and leftover spaces that have withstood the passing of time.
One of these spaces is the cleaning shed building, located south of the Battersea train triangle. Around the 1860s, the Long Hedge train manufacturer established in this area of South London, which would later attract the development of housing projects in the surrounding land. To meet the company's needs, a series of long parallel sheds were built between 1880 and the 1900s. These brick sheds comprised a vast indoor space for the manufacture of trains until the dissolution of the Long Hedge works in the 1930s, to then become the Stewart Lane train depot. After several additions that accumulated through the years, the Stewart Lane cleaning shed is now a massive 1,800 square meters building complex, which is still in operation for the cleaning shed and maintenance of Govia Thameslink trains. To better understand the scale of the project, we compare the shed size to a Victorian terrace house, an 8-carriage train, and the Battersea power station. The use of thick and consistent red brick walls, tall, rounded windows, Italian eaves, and end corbelling are some distinct features that make this Victorian building unique. At some point, it was even considered to be too pretentious for its kind. Despite its clear heritage value, the existence of a tall surrounding wall and the adjacent railway tangle make it an inaccessible and hard place to read. This means that without additional references, the site is doomed to remain a vague and blurry idea in the collective memory.
The historical research situated the cleaning shed firmly in time and allowed for better understanding of the building. This posed interesting questions regarding the future of the shed, and so time became a crucial part of the project. A theoretical framework that influenced our project was set out by Stewart in his book How Buildings Learn and The Clock of the Long Now. Both books discuss the importance of considering time when designing, posing the question of how now might not just constitute today, but also the next 100 years. In How Buildings Learn, Brandt states that grand final solution buildings obsolesce and have to be torn down because they were too overspecified to their original purpose to adapt easily to anything else. This perspective prompted us to imagine a solution that would serve the longer now through its adaptability. To better understand the issues the cleaning shed may face in the long now, we looked into the future trend predictions to create an image of what the future may look like and speculate how this might affect the building's occupancy levels. Using these predictions, we developed a set of factors which we used to determine how resilient different uses may be to changes. This process was to aid us in deciding what programs we should incorporate into the building, and how this could allow for flexibility and change. However, reflecting upon this process, we realized that assigning these values and ranking them may have been too restricting for the project's development. Taking these uses, and whilst considering their resilience factors, we distributed them in the building, using different scenario timelines. This exercise was not to define an ideal solution, but instead to draw out commonalities between these timelines, and better help us design a solution that accounts for changes, flux in occupancy, and can easily adapt. However, through this process of defining resilience factors and creating multiple timelines, we found as soon as we had completed each stage, the information was already out of date, and the timelines that we were creating were too restrictive. At this stage, we concluded that the only way to design a space that was truly flexible and adaptable with the time was by developing a manifesto that outlined these ideals. This way, the building was free to adapt in the most effective way.
The manifesto we created is specific to the cleaning shed, although its ideology and approach to preservation and development could be adapted to other sites. Think of the shed as not only a witness but a participant of time. This specifies how the building should not be static but instead develop and change with the community's needs. For the shed to remain throughout time, at least 5% of its physical form should remain. Although the view towards preservation in this project is quite relaxed, this does not mean that the building should be totally removed. The shed should always allow for public occupation to build a local specific collective memory. The building currently does not allow for public access. Changing this would allow people to grow an attachment to the site and integrates it back into the community. Wherever the shed must undergo change, firstly consult the existing conditions and identify where it is still useful and where amendments must be made. For any alterations, additions or modifications, sorting of materials should first be considered through cannibalizing the unused components of the shed. If cannibalizing the redundant is not possible, always design considering the long now. This explains the outlook on preservation and how you can be respectful and considerate of the past without leaving it stagnant in time.
Through designing a manifesto that encapsulated our design ideals, we felt that if the manifesto was adhered to, any outcome would be a valid response, even though it may not be the one that we had imagined. Given the vast array of ways in which the cleaning shed could evolve over time following the manifesto, we felt it was pointless to try and predict the outcome through our design. Any prediction would become outdated as soon as we finished it. Instead, we decided to follow one of the scenarios and tell its story through a fictional lens. Although it's fictional and represents only one possible way the manifesto could be implemented into the site, we feel that it demonstrates our design concept and approach to preservation with clarity. Before starting to design this fictional future narrative, it was necessary to first reflect on the history of the cleaning shed, and breaking down the demographics that would have used the building and where they would have come from. This led us to better understand how the cleaning shed functions today and what has remained from the past and what has been lost. This was also reflected in the changing demographics of the site with the addition of steel workers and a florist. We then began to envision how we wanted the site to change and evolve moving forward. As it is a very large site, we predict that initially a significant portion of time would be spent thoroughly surveying and recording the site. As the building changes and evolves over time, it will inevitably see demographics come and go. These demographics have been sampled on this demographic graphic.
From this point onward, the lifespan of 300 square meters of the building is followed as it undergoes change directly informed by the manifesto. As demonstrated by the animation, the aim of the design concept is to celebrate accumulation over time and appropriation of remains from the past, not demolishing and starting from scratch as they have done in the neighboring Nine Elms. As of 2022, there is a substantial number of unemployed women in Wandsworth and Lambeth, as well as grassroots initiatives already set up around food production and nutritional education. As we become more aware of the food we are consuming and where it's coming from, the cleaning shed will house this growing grassroots movement and help amplify it. The design incorporates a mezzanine level for planting and growing. The glass panels on the roof above optimize sunlight intake and can be opened and closed for airflow. The lower level incorporates a kitchenette, group meeting space, and farmers market to engage the community in nutritional education. As physical and virtual spaces begin to blur together, the physicality of the space also reflects this. The mezzanine level from the 2030s now serves as a bar and communal space, repurposing the irrigation pipes as housing for lighting. A wireless charging floor has been added, removing the need for wires and plugs, seamlessly blending the physical and digital realm. The original building fabric has also been punctured, creating direct access from the outside. With air quality dropping drastically in London by mid 2060s, due to the indisputable climate crisis, modifications had to be made to the cleaning shed to accommodate this. An advanced airlock and filtration system was added to the building, converting the site into a space for lung therapy and body enhancement modifications. Body modifications, to better equip one to deal with the changing environment, has become a necessity and are no longer uncommon or stigmatized. Although undivided efforts have gone into addressing the climate crisis by the 2100s, years of inactivity cannot be undone, causing a complete shift in lifestyle. With air quality becoming too toxic for humans to breathe in, all interiors have to become sterile environments. An unexpected secondary response to this is that many labs and other previously isolated environments have now become publicly accessible. The cleaning shed has been converted into an algae production and test center, functioning similarly to how the community garden once did.
The upper level of the mezzanine hosts a communal garden. The raised planters are fed by an irrigation system that collects rainwater. The garden is maintained by volunteers and grassroots project participants, becoming a natural gathering space for users that come multiple times a week to tend to the planters. By the 2050s, the community area has been transformed into a bar. The irrigation pipes have been refitted with electrics and now serve as light fixtures. The bar, like the communal garden, acts as a gathering space. Although growth is not the primary focus of the space, some of the planters remain as they were so popular and useful. They now grow strawberries and cherry tomatoes in the summer months. Some planters also grow different types of herbs that are used all year round. With air quality dropping and airborne pandemic diseases becoming frequent, the irrigation system distributes clean air around the site. A lung therapy clinic is being constructed in place of the bar. Although times are hard and human contact is limited, this clinic and the cleaning shed remain as a place of connection whilst providing essential services. Most of the mezzanine level has been removed to make way for the algae production pipes. The algae production here is harvested and used as a nutritional substitute and as fuel. Although the mezzanine is primarily used to service and maintain the pipes, many people enjoy coming up here to observe the production process.
Due to the building's large size, interventions in the site may occur in stages in different areas of the building. The area used by the Grassroots project is just a corner of the building, but illustrates the design intention that could be implemented throughout the cleaning shed. Pivot windows were installed to allow for air circulation throughout the building. The ground floor level was fitted with a charging floor, seamlessly blending the physical and digital realm, and allowing for VR users and competitors to use the space freely. Significant changes have been made to the exterior by the 2060s to help control the air quality. For air to enter the cleaning shed, it passes through multiple filtration systems. Filters cover the windows, and a layer of trees act as a secondary filtration system, along with a filtering brick wall. By the 2100s, the cleaning shed is equipped to deal with drones in both the interior and exterior space. The interior configuration has been adapted to allow the machines to move freely and aid with the production process. The garden run by the Grassroots project produces enough food to sell it in stands in the shed. The produce is sold to help fund the project, and classes take place in the community kitchen. All these activities combined create a holistic approach to nutritional education, closing the gap between food production and consumption, as well as creating jobs for local unemployed women and improving the community's eating habits. As the virtual world becomes more immersive and realistic, the cleaning shed utilizes this technology to allow users to engage with the shed's history. Using the digital archive of site history, the cleaning shed hosts regular exhibitions to showcase its history. This keeps the public conscious of the building's past whilst contemplating developments. By following the manifesto and being quick to adapt to changes, the building can withstand the difficult time brought on by climate and health crisis. The capacity to be adaptable and react quickly to change has become the norm, not only for architecture but also for humans, that have turned into getting body modifications to extend the drastic climate changes. Following the manifesto's commitment to public access to the building, the Algae Production Center runs outreach programs, educating on alternative fuel production methods and the algae's nutritional benefits.
The highlighted elements show the parts of the building which have been cannibalized from other places in the building over time. They illustrate how these elements could be integrated into new design proposals once they are no longer useful in their original context. Through finding new uses for these redundant elements, the cleaning shed becomes more self-sufficient and sustainable when it comes to preservation. The catalogue shows some artifacts that could be extracted from the cleaning shed. These are some of the objects that have been repurposed within the design proposal. Tracking their origins and uses throughout the building adds to the cleaning shed's rich history and cumulative process. This design project aimed to find an alternative to the approach of redevelopment that has taken place in Nine Elms. By going through the process of designing space, a valuable methodology was developed which challenges the act of preservation and management of heritage in redundant spaces.